Cookies, we're looking at a team, One Shot's in 5th, Luminosity's in 3rd. One Shot is 1-2, Luminosity 3-1, but these teams don't feel so far apart. Let's start with One Shot at 1-2. That's like the best 1-2 I think we've pictured so far.
Yeah, because if you look at it, those 2 losses came by a total of about some quick math here, about 4 rounds total. It's not like they're getting blown out. Okay, it's not time to hit the panic button and start the NVK slander, because I know that's what y'all are doing. I know you're sitting there and you just want to slander NVK. You need to get over yourselves.
Whoa, he had a good game. He had a great game last Playday.
Exactly.
I think he
I
dropped
thought you were
like
about
6.
to slander.
Yeah, no, he dropped like 16 or 17.
I'm ready to throw hands over NVK. Y'all lost your minds.
He had a good game last Playday. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, people love to say, "Oh, NVK needs to just retire." That's not true.
I mean, if you keep putting up numbers like that, sure.
One Shot's solid. One Shot's solid. It's not just about MK. They're a solid team.
Well,
might see some crazy
kind of
today.
the opposite of my point now, talking about Luminosity, Tanner. The 3-1, but I feel like that first half of their year has probably been the easier half, or sorry, stage.
I mean, they've only really played, in my opinion, one team that's been particularly challenging towards the caliber team that Luminosity is, and that is Reality TV, which they lost 7-3. So a big regulation loss. They didn't look very hot at all. In fact, One Shot just played Reality TV yesterday, and they managed to make it go all the way to overtime and lose to 8-6. So in terms of like the real challenging opponent that both of these teams have played, Luminosity hasn't looked that particularly great. That being said, against teams that they are better in, like the Aqualixes, like the Unemployment, I would even add Vipers to them. They're just absolutely steamrolling these teams and putting them, like, they just looks like a hot knife through butter. Sorry, not Aqualix, it was Investigation File. But players like Silent just like coming in and just getting a 4K round after round after round. It's been absolutely spectacular to watch.
I think that sets up for a nice test between these two teams. And CJ, as Tanner said, One Shot is the first team to take a point away from Reality TV. They almost won that matchup in overtime.
Remember what I just said? 4 rounds is the difference between 2 of their last 3 losses. They're getting flanked. They're losing close rounds in the final, in the red zone, which is under like 8 seconds in the round. You know, they're just kind of losing close rounds. It's not like we should overreact. The answer to my second critical point there is we should not overreact. And the reason for that is we don't have the global standing to look at right now. But One Shot, even if they lost, they could go 0-9. And the only team that could pass them is an Aqualix team that is currently also winless. Because Karn's team's not catching them. And Karn's team, it's the only team that's even in the zip code of catching One Shot for the playoffs. And playoffs is what One Shot's got on their mind. That's all they're thinking about. You saw Prod in the all chat. He said it, not me. He said TYFS. And for the uninitiated, that means thank you for the scrim. Prod thinks this is a scrim. That's how they're taking. So, you know, I don't think we should overreact, even if they lose this game too. They're thinking long term. And, you know, they can let LG celebrate and say whatever in the interviews if they lose this game.
Well, that's an interesting point, because long-term as well for Luminosity, Tanner, is what they might be thinking, because we could be looking at a potential playoff matchup right here in front of us right now.
You're very right there, Jim. This might be a playoff preview match. Also, one other thing it has is the potential to be to determine seeding in terms of the playoffs. Are they going to be facing the 4th place team or the 2nd or 3rd place team with both of these teams? I think LG is currently in 1st with One Shot in 2nd. So this is actually kind of a tight matchup between these two teams. For One Shot, it's just keep being clinical. Like critical points, they've been absolutely clinical on their entry department. They are 28 and 13. That means the majority of the rounds they're playing, they are getting the entry department, are getting the entry picks, and they're converting them into easy round wins. If they keep that up, they're going to continue to be successful. A large part of that is Silent. Yeah. And then Silent and Splash, they just need to keep being the driving force of this team. Yesterday, when we saw them play Investigation File, those two guys were absolutely monstrous. They were putting up huge numbers, getting really pivotal kills, including multiple 4-3Ks. Those guys just need to show up in a big way if they want to have any chance of beating the shooters that are on One Shot.
So the critically important point, because this could be a playoff matchup, Cookies, we go to the map Veto. Is there any pre-thought here, do you think, between these two teams about, well, does the map we pick here affect, or maps we ban affect the choices we make during a potential best of 3 in playoffs?
Somewhat. You know, One Shot has shown a little bit of a willingness to play something like a Skyscraper. That was something I would have never dreamed they would have played it for. But Villa's an auto ban. It's always been their auto ban, I guess, going back to this stage. We're not going to go to Skyscraper again because One Shot banned it today. We're also not going to see a bank. You know, I would have liked to see LG maybe try to leave bank open for One Shot. It's not necessarily been, you know, like a final boss map for One Shot or anything. So we're going to go to Clubhouse, which I supposedly neither team have history on this stage in their current iteration. So this is going to be a classic iteration of who wants it more, because this is an equalizer, Batman. There's no critical crazy analysis except maybe who's going to go bar stage first.
Well, Tanner, I mean, that there you have it. They, you know, as we said, potential matchup, they go with the most basic map you can go with. Maybe that's just saying, hey, you know what, we both, maybe, as you said, you want the points for seeding, but neither of these two teams are desperate, at least for the time being, in their playoff position. So they say, hey, let's play it safe. Let's pick a map we can both enjoy, we can both work with, and that neither of us really feel like we're giving too much away.
I think you just nailed it on the head. They're not giving anything away. Playoffs are right around the corner. You don't want to take a team to a map that they, you know, didn't have any exposure or any idea that you were playing that map before, what your new strats and development is. You take them to a map like Clubhouse, you play defaults, you play a good game, you look to win, but at the same time, you're also getting that on a macro strategic level. You are not exposing anything that you don't want to be exposing. And I think for both teams, that's a good judgment call from both coaches to go to a map like Clubhouse where it is an equalizer. I do think this heavily favors Luminosity still, though. I think entry fraggers like Silent and Splash are able to just take picks where they can find them because they don't need to have solid drone work in front of them. It's pretty predictable where a defender's going to play. You know, you're attacking CCTV. There's going to be a guy raft. There's going to be a guy top red. There's going to be a guy playing in cash, right? And there might be a guy roaming down below. It's like you can foresee where these players are going to be playing. And I think for an entry department like Splash and Silent, that's exactly their wheelhouse. It's exactly what they want to be finding. And I think they're going to be able to find some really easy pick unless side up One Shot kind of, you know, get in their way.
So Cookies, then, do you think kind of what Tanner said, we're getting a vanilla map, we're getting something very basic? Do we see basic plays? Do we see the expected because they don't want to show anything, or do they maybe have a bit of fun with it, maybe roll out some new stuff? Because what was it, Tanner, last stage we saw, or is it 2 stages ago, it was a while that we saw some teams pull some crazy weird things, at least on like CCTV. We've seen it in Challenger League, or I think people try out stuff in game. Do we see any of that, Cookies?
You just asked both of us. Yeah.
I know, but I feel like the reason I directed it at Tanner was I felt like it was maybe Aerial Arise that, but that might have been the old.
Just say it.
Aerial
You think
Arise.
he's smarter than me? Just say it.
Well, we all know
look,
that.
I love your
Grim.
knowledge and skill sets
Grim,
equally.
Okay,
and
listen.
I'm
gonna
torn.
answer.
I'm
I'm
torn.
gonna answer your question. Okay, I'm gonna answer your question in a way that your gold mind can understand. Okay, you've played Clubhouse before, right? It's the same stuff every time. They open the breach, they clear rafters if they want to. It's incredibly difficult to play this map on if the attack knows what they're doing. And if you're an attacker, you got to be ready for the crazy stuff that's gonna come, or something like an Azami that can terraform the map, make things
that's
different.
What I was gonna say.
But otherwise, or the bar stage, right? Like that's it. Otherwise, good luck defending this, and good luck if you're One Shot, because they've been playing a lot of attacker sided maps, a lot of chalet. They're gonna play Clubhouse now. It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be fun.
Well, there's only thing left to do, and it's to see the match play out. We are going to go to Clubhouse. It's been a while since we've seen it, and we're going to see that first matchup, One Shot and Luminosity.
Well, we've got a treat on our hands to kick off the day, Carter. One Shot and Luminosity, a match that is, you know, of 2 current Stage 3 powerhouses, and of course, like Tanner mentioned, potentially a preview match of something we could see in the playoffs in just a few weeks.
And it's fitting that this will be, at least for one of these teams, the first true test of their skill, as Tanner mentioned as well. LG only falling to Reality TV so far, who are unequivocally one of the best teams in Challenger League, and now they're going up against One Shot, as you said, one of the other powerhouses in Stage 3 so far. One Shot very narrowly beat LG yesterday, but ended up losing for a few unfortunate individual mistakes. Will this be the time for LG to cement themselves as in that upper echelon of CL, who can tangle with the best and not always fall to them, or only able to pick up easy victories? Or will this be One Shot redeeming themselves from yesterday, Jonah? I have to say, I'm excited to see which one it is. But on Clubhouse, which tends to just kind of be all-out brawl in many ways, Even though I predicted one shot, I'm a little more hesitant about predicting them.
Yeah, makes sense, but I like where your head was at least initially, coming off the day yesterday, right? One shot, yes, they lost to reality TV, and, Mr. B kept his promise, and so far, reality TV have gone undefeated. But one shot looked pretty good for the most part, especially towards the end of that game. It really looked like, I don't know how many of you got to tune in and check that one out, but it really looked like they had the momentum. It really looked like they were playing their game, and reality TV, they got out to an early lead and they just kind of barely hung in there to win the game. But it was a lot closer than simply, a win and a loss. It was a very competitive matchup that one shot looked like they found their stride in eventually. Something that I imagine their game plan today is going to be find our stride a little bit sooner than they did the day before.
They might need to be a little careful starting out on the defense. We saw how eager Silent was, for example, to get into the map on attack yesterday on Oregon, where the attack doesn't always have the easiest time. So one shot on the defense will need to be wary of Luminosity attackers moving in the building quickly and going for the kill very early on. First ban up will be Maverick, and moving on, will it be that Thatcher Mav ban? Because the Mav ban, it is what it is, but it's in context with other things that it can sometimes become more important. Losing your two main methods for bypassing that hard breach denial. Thankfully, with the introduction of secondary EMPs, there is still an option to bypass those, or with explosives if you can find the angle. But without those, the importance of hard breach denial overall becomes a lot more powerful.
And despite all the changes in the meta, the introduction of new EMP gadgets, Maverick losing his frag grenades, the Thatcher Maverick ban it's the tale as old as time.
It's eternal.
A combination that has existed in the operator ban phase for what feels like every meta in the last 2 years. Like, no matter what you do, that is a classic combo on Clubhouse, and it's never going to change. It seems like teams have a pretty clear idea of what they want to do and what they'd like to avoid, especially on the defensive side when dealing with those two pesky attacking operators. Of course, on the flip side, the Valkyrie ban and the Azami ban are not a surprise whatsoever either. That Azami, like CJ mentioned, terraforming the map can change the game in such a significant way, and the Valkyrie with all the intel she brings to the table, reasonable why as an attacking team you'd like to avoid having the defensive team with so much more information at their fingertips.
One shot aren't really going for a lineup based around information, and so I suppose with the Valkyrie gone and them banning her out, it makes sense that they're not really worried about relying on intel right now, because the utility they are bringing, the castles, the Malusi Banshees, Bandit Batteries, these are all focused on almost, well, yes, roaming around the map, but almost bunkering around the map, reinforcing the Jacuzzi wall, maybe Plat wall as well, layering the map with castle barricades, not terraforming it the way a zombie does, but still creating certain pathways and blocking certain entry points off from Luminosity until they use the requisite utility to clear it out, and then putting bandit batteries on the top floor. Usually, sometimes it might be placed in other locations, but again, to make the entry for the attack through some of the main entry points of the map, like Plat wall or Jacuzzi, a lot more difficult and require a lot more utility to break through. One thing we didn't talk about, though, Jonah, because Mav and Thatcher's banned, though, we do have that Nook, and if Luminosity wanted to, could have had an extra set of nades.
Well, things will kick off explosively for Luminosity, not necessarily by the Nook, but at Splash's hand. The Sledge will open things up, claiming that kill onto NVK, the Bandit, off the board as the first pick. Not the most common loss early for a defensive team, but as long as those batteries are down and as long as one shot can respond, not too big of a deal. Kilo, he's able to get one back as he really tries to bunker down on this top floor using these Vulcan canisters to bolster his position and try to remain upstairs as long as he can, eventually falling to silent as the pressure just got a little too overwhelming for Kilo to handle.
A very bold strategy to go with that TCSG instead of the Vector, just because the existence of that 1.5 makes the Vector so good, but that's not really the big thing going on there with that position. Once NBK goes down, that was Kilo's main operator to support him. on that roam upstairs. He does in turn take out the one set of frag grenades for Luminosity because, well, they decided not to bring frag grenades on Nook, instead going with the hard breach charges. Now hard breaching held by Rice, Kix, and Eddie overall. You also notice that Silent, unsurprisingly, if you did watch the game yesterday, has moved himself into Generator or in that area very early on. From that position, you'll be able to put constant pressure onto the defense, and especially if the attack ends up being successfully mounted from bottom main stairs or Moto. Once the defense is fully focused on trying to repel that incursion from main stairs or kitchen, whatever hatch the attack ends up pulling through, Silent could be the X factor and the agent of chaos that Luminosity will need to turn their 4v3 into a victory.
Well, here he goes. Silent will step up and secure his double kill on the round. Not before Razor claimed a kill first. So that'll keep things with only the one-man advantage, still favoring Luminosity. But in this 3v2, they are poised and ready to execute on this site. Swaylin and Prod are going to have to go big here. Swaylin, though, just overexposing himself as he tosses that gas canister. That'll leave Prod alone against 3 and a life that is not lasting much longer. A quick shot there by Julian to finish him off. And that'll do it for round number 1, with the attack starting to build some good early pressure and taking the lead.
We'll take a quick timeout as Splash disconnected from the game, but that gives us plenty of time to talk about what LG were able to do and mount successfully in that round. Splash getting that kill so early on without even have to enter the building. Huge for LG to start out the round, because the goal with a lot of those Clubhouse extensions is not to try and play for kills early on. It is first and foremost to waste time, to slowly, as the attack pushes in, move further and further back and trying to waste as much time as you can. It's a little bit front-loaded here because of the reinforcements and the bandit batteries, trying to do a lot of that early on by stopping the attack from immediately entering the building. But the goal isn't really to start taking fights with those players on Metal Balcony, it's to creep back. But because NVK dies, that's the position Kilo is forced into. He needs to start taking some of those aggressive fights, and he only goes 1 for 1. So Luminosity, able to clear out that roam very early on, forces a lot of the, or creates a situation where a lot of the potential time one shot we're hoping would be wasted. Once Luminosity were able to get a lot of the control they needed and wanted, and then once they worked Silent and Blue as well, the fact that he was never dealt with, plus the man advantage from earlier, just meant that it almost seemed like a ticking time bomb and waiting for Luminosity to end up winning the round, because they never ended up throwing that man advantage they got so early on.
I do love it when we see that kind of creative strategy, though, coming out, especially in round number 1. We can kind of see from one shot what kind of approach they're taking to this map, at least defensively, right, with that full extension, using Kilo and all of that utility that the Goyo brings to hold down the top floor and, you know, therefore maintain as much map control as long as they can. Of course, like you said, Carter, it didn't work, and Luminosity were able to expertly claw their way through that kind of setup, but good to see that One Shot are taking that kind of approach, and I wonder if we're going to see that change round to round, or if that's a philosophy they're going to try to keep running with, especially on that basement site. Of course, as we transition to CCTV and Cash now as our secondary site of choice for this one-shot defense, it is unlikely that we're going to see as heavy of an extension, because generally this site is on the top floor after all, and you do need to play it a little bit closer to the chest.
We might see some players move down inside a lounge, maybe play behind a shield, but really that's as far as we'll often see utility push out off the site. The furthest we'll see someone is maybe in basement, but that's usually for a rotation or to try to hit a flank later on in the round. As you said, a lot of the utility and a lot of the action will in all likelihood be around positions like CCTV. That Azami ban that Luminosity took off the board earlier, she makes that position in CCTV a lot more palatable for anybody playing in Rafters, whether it is the Azami or Wamai, who just gets some Kiva barriers early on, then focuses on putting down magnets throughout the round. Without her there, anybody playing in Rafters, even with a Jaeger and a Wamai on the board, will face a lot more difficulty overall, despite the lack of nades that are currently in the game. As you can see, Luminosity, within the first 30 seconds, already trying to open up these 2 garage panels to then move on in later on in the round to start clearing out Kilo from Rafters.
Yeah, Splash using those secondary EMPs quite well, using that to get those Electro Claws dealt with, and even though he is on the Nook, one of the very few operators that actually have frag grenades left on the attacking side, opting to bring those secondary EMPs just for good measure. Of course, without the Thatcher, without the Maverick, you're going to have to find a way to deal with this anti-breach somehow. And while you could deal with it explosively, like Eddie is choosing to do with those frag grenades in pocket, you could also do it in the way that Splash has elected to do. So the Selma charges have opened up Garage, and now they have a way to work their way in if they so choose. Right now, though, and we're seeing this from drone work of several players, Luminosity are trying to get a better understanding of where One Shot are positioned on this map and potentially work Eddie in from below to get these nades firing off.
He has worked his way down below, but NVK has been in Swamp the entire time on these garage stairs. The attackers might know he's there, but all Eddie needs to do is work his way in, force NVK back, and then try to destroy the bandit batteries underneath the wall. And NVK's dropped down. Eddie might not know. NVK could catch the sledge completely off guard, but they have a drone watching. Eddie's able to react and force the Jaeger to move backwards. Splash also now moving down the main stairs to try to pinch out the sole roamer inside of the basement. This is a very interesting position for One Shot. NVK could waste time and force LG to clear him, or at least be something that draws their attention, and he does so, but he ends up dying. 5v4 goes to Luminosity, but Jonah, only 50 seconds left. They haven't started clearing out Rafters, but they have the kills so far.
Yeah, here they go. Silent is in the objective. 2 kills for him, looking for the third, can't quite get it as Prod denies it. But it's still a 4v2, and Luminosity are sitting pretty. Kilo has been torn apart. Prod's at full HP, but for how much longer is the question. He'll take another fight and win it, but eventually drops soon after, and a long shot from Eddie there, too. Nice back-to-back kills to finish off the round for Luminosity. Well played there to pop out on the site when it looked like One Shot just weren't expecting it.
I was about to start talking about, just very quickly before we started delving into the last 45 seconds, Luminosity, they used all their nades, a lot of their explosives, their burn gone. How are they going to clear out Garage? How are they going to clear Kilo out of Rafters? And it didn't matter, because Silent probably, and Luminosity as a whole, realized they don't have the utility to clear out that position. They need to just try and either take a fight with the player in Garage, or, which is what they ended up doing, try to have Silent push up red stairs and open things up from that entry point. That's exactly what he did. Of course, if One Shot were watching, that could have ended a lot worse for Luminosity. But by working his way up that staircase, building off the little control, but still solid control that LG had in the early round, he's able to get 2 kills, make that a 2v5, and once again, get a man advantage that Luminosity never really threw away or lost after that. One Shot playing site roulette at the moment as well. They've lost CCTV, and they have lost basement, partially due to some plays by Silent in the mid to late round, and now they go to Gym Bedroom.
Yeah, you see how Kilo is going to try to get these bandit batteries down early. I imagine we're not going to see any kind of tricking from him, as there is no castle, no additional protection to stay by that jacuzzi wall and trick that as long as he can. But of course, we do see him try occasionally. Looks like instead, he'll be tricking on the other side of this top floor to delay this Luminosity entry. Rice, looks like he got that exothermic charge down, but hasn't detonated it, and so he'll pay the price. That'll get fried, it seems, because Rice only has now 1 left in pocket, so good work from Kilo, I guess, to start off the round.
That was certainly anticlimactic, but odd engagement. Kicks will now rotate over. I mean, they have 3 Selmas. They can still open it, but now with this wall electrified, they'll have to use the secondary EMPs. I'll throw down that Selma charge, open it up. But with everyone stacked on Jacuzzi right now, a little concerned that once this exothermic is used, it might all just barrel in. First one goes down, and will he trick it? Yes, he will! Both exothermics now gone. If they want to open up any wall, for that matter, their only option will be the Selma charges. And they only have 1 EMP and 1 frag grenade to destroy any hard breach denial as well.
Yeah, Luminosity just skipping a pretty important step of opening up that jacuzzi wall. They didn't have that barricade on the gym window open. They didn't have anybody staffing that window. Of course, it's not the safest position to be in if the other side of the map isn't fully cleared, but you've got to have somebody there to prevent that bandit trick. While One Shot was able to deny the initial breach and prevent the exothermic from opening up a pretty sizable gap here, the Selma charge, at least one of them, is able to detonate on the wall. So there is a way that Luminosity can get in from this west side, but it's not a great one. There's a mirror window staring right at them, and it's a vault hole as their only way in. They're likely going to have to find another option here.
Yeah, the only real ways are going down below, maybe creating some vertical destruction. If Silent has any more impact lifelines, or using the one remaining grenade that Eddie has. But that does mean, Jonah, LG's only ways are about using control to get picks, or just stomping into the site and then getting picks that way. And that's not exactly two ways LG are unaccustomed or are not good at getting kills.
There you have it. Eddie starts things off well. Silent on the follow-up, now giving NBK a lot of trouble as he's taken down from behind. NBK got one, but it simply isn't enough because Razor's been felled, and now Kilo has to do all the work. Rice getting this bomb down. You've got Eddie now taking the fight. Splash on the swing. Everyone looking right at Kilo as he tried to get back into position. Wow. Luminosity looking like they were in trouble for the majority of that round. But like you said, Carter, they just brute forced their way in and got those kills using well-timed swings and some well-placed nades.
Having that one grenade left in pocket ended up being, I mean, wasn't the one singular thing that got Luminosity that round, but it is what started it out. It's able to remove Swaylin inside of logistics, a key player that you'd have to worry about if you are pushing up main stairs, which is what Eddie ended up doing. And Swaylin usually plays those important operators like Smoke, so moving that important utility equally as powerful. Then once that's gone, all Eddie has to do is worry about taking a 1v1 gunfight with the other player on main stairs. And before that, Silent was able to get a kill from not entirely sure where. I would assume the Jacuzzi breach. I'm not entirely sure, but still, some well-placed utility, and Luminosity just doing what they do best ends up getting them their third round in a row.
Wow. That's got to hurt for one shot, I will say. With so much going well, you've got several callouts throughout the round going, got the exothermic. We denied another Selma. They can't get in here. They can't just run through this breach. They've got a vault. We've got a mirror window in this position. So much that should have been going their way, yet Luminosity find a way to just spin that round on its head, and all of a sudden, it's another Luminosity victory. 3-0 right now. The clean sweep on all of these, main sites that One Shot attempted. And so now One Shot have to kind of go back to the drawing board. They're going to head back to the basement, restart this rotation, but it is not, I imagine, how they expected this game to start.
100%. This is not at all, especially after that round, how they thought things were going to go, I imagine. Luminosity starting with the same clear, though, that they have grown accustomed to on Clubhouse so far, trying to go for that full clear across parts of the map. Sometimes they've been stopped, sometimes they've had trouble, especially on sites like basement, which is usually how things start, as we've seen in round number 1. 2 players, though, taking a lot of damage early on. NVK and Kilo both falling to around 1 HP, but as opposed to the previous round, Jonah, neither die in the first half of the round. Sure, they are damaged. As I've said before, the goal on a Clubhouse roam is to waste time and get away alive, which even though they're damaged, NVK and Kilo have both done successfully.
Yeah, they appear to be just fine. Kilo, I was worried about him for a second as he got stunned and was running away on 1 HP. Never a great sign, but he is still alive. NBK still here to fight his C4. Doesn't find anybody. In fact, nobody even in kitchen at all. And Silent, once again, making an early move. Taking care of Kilo now is Splash. Of course, that C4 detonating super late and somehow getting Splash in return, probably picked up. Finally, that kill eventually secured, but it's a 3v3 now. Razor is able to make something happen and darting away towards dirt to find some safety. With 50 seconds left, an early push from Luminosity got them something, but now they're going to slow down a bit.
They will slow down a bit, and there's still some destruction they need to do. They got that castle barricade separating kicks from Moto to the rest of the site. They don't have the man advantage like they've had before in previous rounds going into the final 30 seconds. Just an even 3v3. Swaylin still alive as well with 2 toxic canisters, 20 seconds total to burn. This is certainly looking like a one-shot round if they can get these final 3 kills.
Yeah, it would be big for Luminosity, though, if they could add another one to their tally. They're going to try to do it right now. Rice is going to try to get this diffuser on the ground, and we've got to see a response from One Shot. Where is it? Finally, Razor steps up, but does not take down the planter. Razor then loses his life as a result, and Swaylin is taken care of too. Prod is the last player standing, has to go big in this retake, takes care of the player on this basement floor. But Eddie up above is a major threat. Prod teasing that diffuser, but getting off it, playing this back and forth game with Eddie. But the Buck is in a perfect position to win this round. The diffuser in his sights. Prod, not enough HP to make this happen. Not enough prayers to make this happen either. Eddie's got the angle, he's got the pings, and Prod simply does not have the time. Another Luminosity round in that 3v3. They explode on the site, get that bomb down, and make it happen again.
Couple things that happened in that late round. Luminosity having the control, despite the equal man count, having the control they needed to make that post plant work, whereas One Shot lacked some of the utility that they needed to make that work, at least as cleanly as you might have thought. Luminosity, sure, they only have 3 players, but they have one guy drop the kitchen half, Eddie stay on the hatch to watch anybody physically pushing to kill the player with diffuser. Then you have Kicks also down below who can watch the long haul and check any rotations as well. So Luminosity, they have vertical, they have someone watching one of the main avenues for horizontal rotation. They can, it's very tight, but they still can cover the player putting the bomb down. One Shot, both their C4 players not only died, but also used their C4s early on. So the only player, or the only options you have to stop that post plant are either A, physically pushing it, like we saw Razor try to do, or if he gets the call, Swaylin can throw toxic canisters from church below the kitchen hatch and try to deny the bomb that way. I'm not sure if that call didn't come out, or maybe Swaylin did and it came late, but nothing really stopped Luminosity's post plant aside from players trying to push it. That was thwarted. There was no utility thrown underneath that hatch to try and deny the plant, and it ended up going to Luminosity's favor, maybe even because those C4s were used early on, or Swaylin maybe just didn't have time to react.
But man, that's 2 rounds back-to-back, Carter, where One Shot really felt like they were going to win the round. It's 2 instances where Luminosity, all credit to them, have fought a very uphill battle and have won it on 2 separate occasions. That's got to feel good. They've got to be loving the way this Clubhouse is shaking up. I did expect One Shot to come out of the gate swinging and be a little bit formidable here. Not counting them out by all means. They still have 2 defensive chances, and they could be equally potent on the attacking side, as we're seeing from Luminosity right now. But there is no question that this is, for all intents and purposes, very one-sided at the moment.
One Shot, they do take their tactical timeout. They did have some time to go over their problems so far, what Luminosity are doing, and it was one thing that One Shot just need to account for. Not so much in that basement round, but definitely as we've seen in CCTV and Gym Bedroom as well. Luminosity players just able to work their way up stairwells or up into positions, and then causing havoc for One Shot inside of the site. CCTV was another one of those sites. It was very even between these 2 teams. Then all of a sudden, Luminosity just gained a very rapid advantage. But still, in the early round, One Shot wasted a lot of utility, and they seem primed to do so again. All LG have done so far is open up those 2 garage walls, which they did before successfully. But moving down below, destroying those bandit batteries, that took almost 2 minutes out of the 3 you have in a round, and they never even got to clearing out garage.
Also, I don't know if you caught this earlier, but NVK stepping up to that breach and shooting out the Selma charge before it could detonate the second time. A risky move, but it's now prevented Luminosity from having an easy way into garage from multiple angles. They can't even vault through that. Now, NVK will lose his life, and Razor is soon to follow after. Prod's gone too. Kilo, bye-bye. What in the world just happened? Swaylin is all of a sudden the last player standing because Luminosity just get their kills. 1 by 1, they take care of this One Shot defense, and a 1 HP Swaylin against the world. Yeah, this is not looking good. Silent rather, will finish it with the pistol, and what a way to dig the knife in deeper.
LG once again showing that they don't even need to consider garage in their plans beyond opening up the garage walls as a formality to win these rounds. They know NVK is playing those garage stairs. They know he's playing there. That's where he was all the way back in the first CCTV defense. It's where he is now. But before, NVK actually managed to get out successfully, drop down into oil pit, and rotate around. This time he gets naded. So then LG are like, okay, we'll just move along with our plan. Eddie, who has so far been very lethal with the nades, finds the player playing on that flat wall. Splash, moving into lounge, catches someone trying to kill Eddie from red stairs, and all of those 3 events happening in the span of 5 seconds, they might not have all been necessarily, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, but they all happened at the same time, and that's pretty much the round at that point.
And I think according to Silent, it's pretty much the game. I don't know if you've been taking a peek at all, chat, but Silent's been chirping. Silent's been chirping a little bit here. So something to keep an eye on. Maybe that'll bite him in the back in a little bit. But right now, Luminosity are looking quite clean. 5-0 right now with one shot. Their final chance to make something happen on defense. Round number 6, it'll be Gym and Bedroom, just sticking with the rotation that they started on the first half of their defensive side. And hopefully for them, something can change. They were very successful in the early round last time they were here defending Gym. They had a great utility game that slowed down Luminosity, prevented them from doing much at all for the first 2 minutes. Luminosity, even after losing 2 bodies, though, were able to claw it back, and that's what we have to see one shot stop. They cannot allow Luminosity to win another one of these uphill climbs.
Just want to take a look at the stats for Luminosity as well. Eddie, 8-0 right now. Silent, 8-3. But the most impressive to me is Kix, who is 1-1 after 5 rounds. If your supports are getting stat lines like that, that is a sign that you are absolutely demolishing your opponent. If they only have 1 kill, but have only died once. 2 players, though, who now have died, well, that'll be Eddie and Splash. And Eddie being one of the players who opened up that Gym Bedroom round previously by nading somebody from below and pushing up main stairs. But right now, Jonah, this might just be one shots first in miraculous fashion.
Yeah, they're looking to run away with this final round. Prod's been lit up, but he's taken care of some Luminosity attackers on his way down to low HP. Kilo's lost his life, but he also claimed a huge double nitro cell kill that has now left Julian and Rice to fend for themselves. I mean, best of luck to them. They're both 2 kills so far in this game. Like you said, support players, in terms of stat lines, they're doing a fantastic job, but does that mean they're going to be able to fight this 2v4 all by themselves? A question that I think we'll answer in a few seconds here, or at least in the next 50 seconds, because they do have some time to work with. They don't have to rush this, but at some point, they're going to have to push in and take these fights, because one shot are not bringing the fights to them. They're sitting back and making Luminosity take that ground.
Rice will try to work a pick on Metal Bauk. He's very unceremoniously dispatched by NVK. And now Kix, the support I mentioned earlier, who's doubled his kill count since the time I mentioned him. Now the only one left in a 1v4, does have the fuser, but now stuck outside on the balcony. Jonah, I don't know if you'll agree with me. I don't know if he has this one.
Yeah, something's telling me this isn't quite a winnable situation. That's just the kind of vibe I'm getting here, Carter. Not exactly sure what's telling me that. Yeah, I don't think he's going to make much of a move here. One shot will claim their very first round in explosive fashion early, but then in rather tame fashion towards the end. But a 5-1 half for Luminosity is certainly something to write home about, especially on the Clubhouse attack, making one shot's defenses look pretty weak. But now the tides have turned, right? In theory, we are swapping sides. So this is where one shot have an opportunity to showcase their attacks, get some work in there, and maybe work their way back. Eventually, this lead could certainly disappear, but it's a long way to go. 4-round difference separating these two at the moment. And Luminosity, they're clearly confident. Silent is fragging out. Eddie's making moves, and really everyone is clearly synergizing quite well. Can they do it here on CCTV and Cash? Well, we'll find out in a sec.
This is a situation where Luminosity, I mean, they've got 2 things going for them on Clubhouse defense. One, which is similar to what One Shot had in terms of they are actually favored a little bit more than they are normally in terms of utility. The attack wants to take down these bandit batteries, for example. They either have to go underneath, use explosives, or use any secondary EMPs they might need to bring. Because you don't have the Thatcher and Maverick, Just a lot more difficult to open up these angles. But what LG also have going into this defensive half is a lot more important and a lot more unique to them. They just have momentum. The wind is in their sails right now. You saw Silent getting very active in chat. They feel that this game is already won, and that they are right now just agents of fate, carrying out this game as a formality, because to them, it's a foregone conclusion. Look at Splash just sitting underneath that secret window right now. Got a shotgun, an SMG-11, and a C4. Somebody gets close, could shoot him with a shotgun. Goes far away, try a C4. Doesn't end up killing Razor, but he's still taking fights with them. Is this the smartest thing on the planet? No. Probably not.
Definitely not.
But it's an indication of LG's mindset. Because imagine if they get that kill, that's still a man advantage, and that's even more ego.
Well, we'll see if Splash gets a bit wiser towards the late round. He has backed off a little bit. No longer challenging directly in secret. Backed off to Oil Pit for now to await his next challenge. We will have some one-shot pressure building outside the garage, as is expected. But Razor has rotated around from the other side of the garage to now the CCTV window to apply some pressure from the other side of the site. Eddie, feeling that pressure, will not be playing actively on the breach, as one might expect, wary that Razor could pop up and take him out at any time. But here comes that utility dump. Razor has that frag grenade in pocket and is likely going to lob that out just in the nick of time to allow this breach to get opened. Kilo is going to at least pretend to get that first exothermic down, but he's not going to do it. He's waiting a little bit, potentially baiting Eddie out to cover this and seal it off. But what's exactly happened here? Why isn't Razor at the window preventing that?
I guess One Shot have just decided they're rotating their take. I mean, as you guys saw, even if they opened up Platwall, they'd still only have 1:10 seconds left. They wouldn't have garage cleared. I mean, any chances or hopes of that are basically gone at this point, considering the little One Shot have accomplished. But they're opening up the con single panel. They've all left this part of the map. They're just going to try to bet their hopes of preventing LG's match point from flooding in, but with garage still alive, there will only be jumping in through windows right into the middle of what is essentially a 5-man crossfire.
Yeah, it looks like it might be a bloodbath in about a second, but Eddie is exposing himself right in the open, so he'll be the first to fall with only 15 seconds left. NBK will be happy to claim that opening kill, and now it's up to One Shot to further that aggression. Swaylin, though, falls on the entry, but NBK picks up one for good measure. Prod running all the way through the site. He's looking for somebody, but can't find them.
What?
Luminosity get a couple of kills back, and Splash from behind was never cleared out. Julian will secure a triple kill and get the defuse for good measure to finish off the round. Luminosity with a clean retake to put themselves on match point.
It wasn't a terrible rotation or read by One Shot there. One thing that we touched on a little bit, but there was a little bit of an amendment later on in the round. Not only was Splash offside down in the oil pit, I believe Silent was also downstairs in basement. So One Shot realized that they are struggling to open Platwall. Even if they do it, if they want to clear out garage, they'll basically just be running in through the breach or running into a crossfire. Might as well just try to clear players out from those windows and not have to worry about maybe even getting bandit tricked later on a second time around. And then they realize that there's only 3 players in the site. Just try to go for the flood. They then kill Eddie. They start moving on in. But I think Luminosity realized what was going to happen. They see that Platwall is no longer a focus for One Shot. The players start rotating back to the site, being Splash and Silent. Then at that point, One Shot were still able to make quite a few angles work. They're able to get inside, get the bomb down, ameliorate some of the pressure and the issues over by Red Stairs, but that's still ended, I think, how a lot of us expected. Luminosity is rotating back and collapsing as One Shot just bet everything on 50-50 gunfights through doorways and windows.
An odd way to really rest their hopes on as far as their attacking hopes, right, for One Shot. Right, a mid-round adaptation that just looked half-hearted in a way, right? They didn't really have time to fully rotate and switch and approach from the back. They didn't have a ton of time to approach from the front either, to be fair, but they had already made at least some progress in setting up that take. They had people on that CCTV window. They were prepared to deal with that bandit if they needed to But then someone made the call and said, you know what? Let's just scrap it. Let's just try to get in there fast and dirty and take these fights. And while they were able to win a couple of gunfights, they just couldn't win them all. So now, with the only hope to stop Luminosity from taking match point here, and they're going to have to do that 5 more times in a row, mind you, they will begin to clear out this map from the top down.
2 players on this top floor as Razor moves on in, looking to get the first kill, but Luminosity have already started moving out of bedroom and instead looking up through these hatches for any potential first pick. Eddie right now down below, inside of pool, ERC activated. 1 player directly above it, that's Razor the Yana. Taking out him would be the 2 remaining sets of nades gone.
Wow.
And he sees and predicts Razor's position. 2 impacts and a couple bullets. Not only gives Luminosity the first pick, takes down some key explosives that One Shot had.
That is so well read by Eddie. In the right place at the right time, sure, but capitalizes on that beautifully. Use those impacts to perfection as well, hanging on to them for a moment, just like that. Now Luminosity, they've got the 1-man advantage early on. Now a 2-man advantage as Eddie uses the punch hole to humiliate Prod and put him into the dirt. It's NBK, Swalen, and Kilo, the last hope for One Shot if they want to have any chance on Clubhouse right now. And Luminosity, it seems like Eddie is only getting more active, really wants to take these fights, and doesn't want to let One Shot get any ground.
This is just an unenviable position for One Shot. 45 seconds left. 3 drones. 5v2. Full control of the site for Luminosity. Just 1 kill remaining, and Kix gets it. What we all believed would probably be the game of the day, Jonah, ends and really just continued throughout with a whimper and a series of whimpers until they end up winning 7-1. So a good win for LG, but man, where is One Shot? Because it did not seem like they were here today.
Yeah, I know more of us predicted Luminosity than One Shot, but I really did think, and I think we all said it at some point, we did, the analysts did, that this was going to be a close game. And this was going to be an exciting game to watch, but One Shot, despite having a pretty good performance so far, right? Showing up in a couple of matches where they needed to, falling short in a couple of others, they did not perform here against Luminosity, who looked not shaky yesterday, but it wasn't like the most dominant thing ever seen. Against IF, it was a 7-3 win from LG, and yet they beat arguably a better team by an even greater margin. 7-1 here to open up the day, Carter. I know we said it already, but it's still quite a shocking result to kick off the day.
I don't even know if we can say much else. I mean, it's not like we didn't really get much else. I mean, there were a couple rounds where One Shot almost won, then LG just stormed on through the site, but we'll try to let the analyst desk make sense of this bloodbath and this slaughter from Luminosity over One Shot.
Tanner, I'll start with you. I know I was, and I know you definitely were agonizing over our prediction before this match of which team would take it. Was it going to be One Shot? Was it going to be Luminosity? There were so many reasons on both sides why we thought each team could take it. And as the caster said, we thought, it's going to be down to the wire between these two teams. And although I think both of us got our predictions right, this is not how we thought it was going to play out.
No, we definitely didn't think One Shot would just roll over and give up. I don't know what is going on with them right now, why the last couple of days they haven't really been performing or closing out these games or being competitive the way they need to. Even versus Reality TV yesterday. Yes, they took them to overtime at the end there, but they didn't they should have won that game. That should have been a game that they killed or had that killer instinct and were able to pull out the win here. And today it looked like they just chose not to show up. I know there's a mentality that they have about, hey, playoffs are all that matters, but at least show up. There's little things here too. It takes them 2.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes to clear a bandit trick that isn't happening. Just keep this in mind. The bandit wasn't tricking the wall. He was tucked over in the corner by radio. Why is it taking 2.5 minutes for a top tier CL team to clear that? That makes no sense at all. I don't know why it was happening. I'm very disappointed by one shot. Good job by LG. Disappointed by one shot.
Well, I like that you brought up the bandit trick because that was, or the not trick, because that was Eddie. So even when he wasn't killing them, he was still finding other ways to absolutely toy with them. And Cookies, I know we had a bit of an error with the stats there, but I think that was fitting because those were the stats yesterday from One Shot showing Prod and NVK popping off, and we just didn't get that from them today, not in the least. NVK, the last I checked, was 0-3 on entry. Cookies, what could, I mean, I say what could they have done differently? Is the answer everything?
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, first off, I'm going to defend Swalen, okay? Yeah, the stat was wrong there. He was not 7-11. He was like 0-8 or something, okay? He's playing the tough roles because he's a selfless man. But one shot got deleted around him. You saw a forceful, like, so we know Clubhouse is, it's like a bologna sandwich, right? Like, and it's like the attack can kind of do what they want in terms of micro plays. That's LG's thing. So if you're
Hold on. No.
I was just gonna go
You've got
past
us.
that.
You've got us confused.
What?
What? What are you
About
confused?
what's a
Bologna
what-
sandwich?
It's
What?
it's simple. It's simple and delicious.
Okay.
That's
okay.
how I would describe
Okay, fair
Luminosity's
enough.
attack.
It's like there's
right?
layers to it. Like there's
No,
a
it's just
top,
it's
a
not.
middle,
It's
and a
not that
bottom.
it's
Is
not that
that-
complicated. All they did, right? Silent walked up main. Some people were shooting. People didn't hear him walk up main. They win a gym attack. Like that's what happened all game. That's how they put themselves in a 1-5 hole, right? So one shot, what they tried to do, they tried to contest them early. They got slammed. They tried to play a little close to the center. They got flawless. They took an early timeout. They got rocked after the timeout. There's just
So what
it's a
you're
learning
saying,
experience.
it's just a
Learning
bologna
experience.
sandwich. It doesn't need Dijon. You don't need to do anything
There was
extra.
Luminosity didn't do anything crazy. They just made a really solid bologna sandwich with really toasted. The bread's really toasted well. The bologna's toasted nice. It's that's all he did. A little salt on it. That's all he did. Luminosity didn't do anything crazy. One shot just didn't have
It's
the
a
answer.
better bologna sandwich than I've ever had. But anyways, it's just a bunch of bologna to me. I'm gonna talk to the coach now, Thesis of LG, and boy, do we have some questions for him. Thesis, massive win from you guys. Did you expect the 7-1? Did you think that that's how it was gonna go down?
Honestly, I thought it would be 7-0 because here on the team we yeah, I'm sure because we analyzed them. They didn't change anything from stage 2. That's incredible. Like one stage to another, and they don't change anything. And we won again. We won easily, and yeah, that's it.
Do you
We expected.
you've got to be completely happy with this matchup from your team and what they brought? Like, do you go back now and do you even, I don't know, critique anything, or do you just say, yep, we did what we wanted?
No, we didn't do exactly what we wanted. Sometimes we missed some things, but yeah, we played well. Our team is a beast. We are good.
And just finally, you got to tell me that you didn't go into this matchup thinking like this is a potential playoff matchup at the end of the stage. Is that a consideration when you go into a game like this?
Yeah, but nowadays I'm pretty much thinking about this stage, you know. But of course we have the playoffs, and we beat them in on the stage, and we will beat them on the playoffs.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Thanks for the confidence, Thesis. Good luck.
Thank you.
I guess it's kind of pointless for me to wish them good luck since they really don't seem to want it or need it at this point. 7-1 steamroll victory for Luminosity over One Shot. Man, I mean, the rest of the day can only go smooth after that because that was a blowout. 3 more games to go in the day. We're going to go to a quick break right now, though.